Gentlemen, welcome to day 3 of the VGVN Next Range Release Tournament number 2. My name is Dan Frodancho, and today I'll be joined by Mars and Nims Filipovic once again, so that way we can see who will be taking home the majority of the prize pool of $2,500 and an invite back to the third tournament in the series. Today we got 2 semifinals and the grand finals. We have Hyped versus Trump and Kento versus Ties. Nims, what do you think about today's matchups and how you've been enjoying the tournament as a whole?
Oh, I'm so excited for today. We had 2 great days of games. A lot has happened. Some plays were just sick with a sick outcome, like the Hybar Ragnaros. We had sick comebacks, we had some bad luck, we had some good luck, and above it all, we had a lot of skill from those skilled players who are one of the top players in the world. So this time we'll have the semifinals. Players will be playing this best of 7 matches. They are able to bring another deck to the fold. So we haven't seen all the decks from those players. They have a secret deck. Every one of them can bring another class. And here, well, those matchups are pretty cool. Kento versus Tyson L. 2 European players, top of the ladder, great players overall. And then Hyped versus Trump. The NA players were Hyped is one of the top ladder players from NA, and Trump, obviously super popular, a superstar with a lot of tournament experience and also very good scores. So yeah, I'm super hyped about those games, and I'm obviously rooting for my teammate Kento, but you never know, and I have to be objective here because all of those players are really good, and everybody has the same fair chance to actually get to the final.
Yeah, that's right. Don't forget that Trump himself also has good ladder standings. He was at number 2, I believe, in the top of the rankings earlier this season. So it's not like he's just a chump where he's easily just like, yeah, well, I'm just going to get invites and not really have any other accolades. The guy's been placing in the middle of tournaments. He's been getting third or fourth a lot. This might be his opportunity to break through and get a top 2 or even a win. And I think that would definitely shut up a lot of the haters. And I think it's a great opportunity for Trump to continue to be able to push through and start securing more of his place in the Hearthstone pro scene.
By the way, I think if Trump actually wins this tournament, he will be getting very close to the top 10 Gosu Gamers ranking. Right now, I feel he's 25th. So if he wins the semifinal and then he wins the final, he will be in top 10 or top 15 of the top world ranking players.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to be a lot. There's a lot on the line here. Just not only just the pride and the money, but I guess Gosu Gamer rankings too, which is a cool tool to use. They're still figuring out all the rankings, so maybe it's not perfect of who's number 1 through 10, but it's a good general idea of consistency and performance. Like RDU number 1, without question, he's been performing extremely well in almost every single tournament, winning 2 in the past week alone. And we'll have a new champion. And I think all of these guys are going to be searching for their first tournament win. At least for the like a big high profile one. I don't think Kento, Ties, Hyped, or Trump has had a large profile win. They've won online cups like Zotax and Gosu cups in plenty. Kento obviously has won ladder. I guess he always wins ladder every single season.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on the line for these guys to just try to secure themselves as a tournament winner. And so we're going to be leading off the series today, or leading off the day today, with Kento versus Ties, which will be the first one. Let's jump into the ban screen and figure out how these guys are going to prepare for the series. Don't forget, guys, as we get ready for our match ceremonies, you can enter for a chance to win a Zeus Mini PC. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a link, or if you type giveaway in the chat, you can get information. And since you're the first few thousand people to kind of hear it today, you can go ahead and get the link before it just goes away and spam in the flood, and find out more information about VGVN, about the organization trying to fight.
Also, guys, remember that this is the second edition of the VGVN tournament.
For
Rodan, you're cutting out.
Oh, my apologies. Is everything okay?
Well, you're cutting out, so I will continue with the information that this is the second edition of the VGVN tournament, but remember that we have 2 open spots for the open qualifier, and there will be a third edition of this tournament, and we will have an open tournament next weekend. So you can go to the Liquid Carve site, and you can start registering. I'm not sure if the site is up now, but just bookmark the site if not, and you will be able to register for the open. Try your chances, try your luck. and prove your skill in the open tournament, because you might be the one person that actually qualifies for the VGVN number 3, where the 2 spots will be open for, I believe, 1 player from EU, 1 player for NA. So definitely try it. Definitely register. And I think we lost Froden, so just give us a couple of seconds, and Froden will be back in a minute. But yeah, just looking at this match, Kento versus Tice, they both banned Hunter. So again, a user-friendly and user-favorite profile with Hunter being banned from both sides. Kento bringing his custom Druid, which is a Cloud9 Strifecrow Kento Druid, designed and tested. And this is a formidable deck with a lot of low drops, with a lot of power, with those mid-range minions, and Defender of Argus really shining here. And I think Froden is actually back. Froden, are you here?
Yeah, sorry about that. I hope I didn't miss too much. Actually, the series doesn't look like it started yet, so looks like we're in a good spot. So can you fill me in on anything that's my screen's still loading here, Nim? So who's the bands looking like?
Okay, so I just talked about Hunter being banned, announced the open tournaments that will be next week that people can register to, and I briefly talked about the Druid, and now I'm looking at the handlock from Tice, and this matchup might be interesting. I feel like Druid is disadvantaged against handlocked. A lot of taunts, a lot of removal, and the Druid will have to be really fast. And basically, this Druid is kind of similar to Zoo in my mind. So Zoo basically had problems with Druid. If you don't get a very fast and explosive start, if you don't get a Savage Roar to be able to go through all the taunts and kill your opponent before he stabilizes, you might be in trouble. Sometimes even Keeper of the Grove doesn't help if there's 2 or 3 taunts, or just big minions that start trading with your minions. So I would have to give an edge to Tyson L in this first game of today's semifinals and final.
Yeah, I agree. And I think handlock isn't very common in this tournament. Again, it's something that people have somewhat they recognize its strength, but not everyone brings it. They're bringing Warlock. They're mainly playing Zoo. And Tice, that could be one of his advantages. When you ban Hunter, everyone kind of unanimously agrees, as long as Shaman is not really in the mix, it's one of the best decks out there. So I think let's go into game number 1 and see if Tice can kind of take his advantage of the Druid matchup, or will Kento be able to sneak in one of those wins with this powerful Druid deck that we've been seeing?
I'm excited. I really wanted to see this Druid, and yesterday we only had control versus control. So now we can see how it works. And Kento, this start is definitely something that he didn't want to see. He missed all the 2 drops. So it's super slow actually. It couldn't be worse. Oh, there is a 2 drop, so it's a very nice top deck for Kento. But still, no coin. Curve is nice, but I will have to see if it works with handlock. On the other hand, handlock doesn't have Mountain Giant or Twilight Drake, so it might be important. He has double Shadow Flame, which is pretty good against the minion deck.
Yeah, neither player really seems to have that great of a start, at least until Kento picked up Haunted Creeper. Now he curves out pretty decently, and he still has Keeper of the Grove for the Twilight Drake, so he's got some answers early on. I don't believe this deck runs a big game Hunter, correct, Nip? So you're a little bit more vulnerable to the Giant starts. But still,
Yeah.
if you build up the board, maybe you can kind of remove it effectively, and you still have many Death Rattle minions.
I also like Lothar, by the way. Lothar might be a key card when you actually overextend and your opponent is not able to clear, and he's waiting for the clear next turn. You play Lothar and you actually steal them, and you are able to win next turn. Lothar is kind of giving you 2 turns, because you play Lothar and your opponent is not able to clear, and you attack that turn. And then, you play Lothar, so you're free to attack, and then your opponent is not able to clear, so you play another card, and you're able to attack again without the clear.
Wow,
Better
how
like
about
Ramus.
this? Yeah, you get Shea up next, Ramus. It's a little bit tricky because I don't believe it'll be powerful enough to survive Hellfire if it comes out on turn 4, right, for Ties? So Kalento's making sure to try to, well, let's see what you can do with it. But the good news is that Twilight Drake seems to be the only threat inside of Ties' hand, and he has Keeper of the Grove already prepared.
Yeah, it looks like a good start for Kento. He will be able to deal with the Twilight Drake, but now Tice has to decide if he really wants to play Twilight Drake and just play into this Keeper of the Grove. Dice has to make an assessment. What is the chance that there is Keeper of the Grove, and what happens if I play it, if it gets silenced and attacked by a spider? What is my follow-up play on turn 5?
Well,
Correct.
nothing at the moment. He's only got taunt givers and combo pieces, so it's still gonna be quite tricky. I like the patience from Tice, realizing like, you know what, I just gotta have to life tap, and he's using his coin even. That's how desperate he was to get to a 4-drop against Druid. He recognizes the importance of it. But now Kalento's thinking about whether or not he should hold on to Shaded Next Rammus. Do you believe it's good to hold here, or do you think getting in that damage now is important as the aggressive Druid deck?
Well, I feel like you can attack because even if there is Hellfire, you get wiped, and it's going to be destroyed. If there is a Soulfire, you're probably fine with it, and Soulfire will destroy it anyway next turn. So I would take the gamble as well and attack.
All right, well, Tice drops the Twilight Drake, as powerful as can be, but Kalento does have the response, although he did lose his strongest minion. So it seems like his aggression has somewhat halted. He picks up an Innervate, which allows him to hit combo that much earlier if he's able to piece it together, which could be the case here.
It will also allow him to actually Wrath if he wants to. Not sure if it's a good play, but yeah, I think it's actually better to keep it to be able to play something on those power turns, to be able to play the combo, or maybe Lothep with something else.
Well, Tice's hand's still not exciting. He only has Ancient Watcher. Molten Giant is still a few points out of range. And this is going to give Kalento a small win of opportunity. In fact, if he top decks Savage Roar, I was wondering if he could win right here.
Oh my god, a second Innervate. Now he can play Lothep. This is exactly what we were talking about. If he plays Lothep here, then there is no way for the Shadow Flame to be played. So this Watcher can be kind of ignored. Normally he would have to clear this because of the Shadow Flame. But now if you play Lothep, you're fine. It's there is no way the Shadow Flame will be played. The Ancient Watcher can be taunted, but then you have a Lothep on board.
Yeah, you know, I was actually kind of counting up, and if Kalento did top deck Savage Roar, that was game. If he had, because he had Innervate. Something that Tice necessarily can't just calculate, because he realizes his opponent is still on limited mana, but you're not sure how many cards you're going to be playing around specifically. So Tice feels like he's kind of safe, but he's starting to hit critical danger zones. How far does Kalento push Tice down the HP bar, though?
Well, if he goes in, I guess he can go in all in.
Ooh, this is already a situation where he can go for Molten Giant and Taunters. Putting him down to 13 gives the ability for one Molten Giant and Taunt and set up 13 points of defense.
That swipe is so important as well. Because if he gets that's a lot of damage. Also, it's a direct damage spell that can actually reach out to deal some damage to Warlock if needed. Yeah, Savage Roar would be best.
People might say like, Kalento, why'd you give him the ability to use Molten Giant and Taunt? But just keep in mind how much power he has. He's got 10, 11 on the board plus swipe on from the hand. So if his opponent had a worst case scenario where it was like only one taunter, he could still push through and potentially draw into like Druid the Claw to end the game. So he's just trying to pick a comfortable medium where he's not pushing him too far down, but at the same time threatening with just what's on the board to just kill to end the game.
Harvest Golem is a blank. This is not a card he wanted to draw. Now he has to decide how to deal with the board.
Yes, probably has a Wrath for one, do you think, to draw another card?
I'm not sure. Maybe Wrath for free into Molten Giant might be better. Just swipe the Molten, Wrath Molten, attack it with a Spider, then kill the 4/5 with Lothep, and attack for 5 face. Leave your opponent at 8, and also play the Harvest Golem.
I guess that's the most aggressive approach. I'm trying to think if there's any opportunity. I'm pretty sure Kalento is too, of wrathing for one, picking up something like if he gets Keeper of the Grove or he gets Savage Roar. You have to kind of calculate all the possibilities, but Wrath is most likely going to be included in this turn in some capacity.
Well, a good thing is that even if he wraths for one, he can still use swipe, and he has double Innervate, so he will be able to play something for 5 mana. Like if he gets
All right, well, he is going for Wrathing for 3, trying to just go for the guarantee value. And then, oh, almost kind of rearranging him properly, but Kento had to hurry because he is out of time. He's got double Innervate, so I feel like pushing out Harvest Golem is the smartest play here. Because most likely, whatever you top deck, you're going to be able to play that turn anyways.
I also like that he killed the minion. You want to get rid of the minions from board, just in case of the Power Overwhelming and Shadow Flame.
All right, speaking of Shadow Flame, it's a little bit tricky because of these Harvest Golems. In fact, it's still going to be a little messy, no matter how he kind of coins it.
Yeah, Dice will have to play a minion. Then he will have to clear. And even if he clears, he still gets the Harvest Golem tokens. The Kento has one scary card in hand. It can be anything.
Yeah, it can even be Innervate.
Possibly. If he gets Ancient of Lore, that card is actually not bad.
That card is probably the best case scenario, other than just a game-ending damage like Saboteur. Shields up. And Tyce realizes the gravity situation. He simply can die to any card that's being top deck. Wipe off the top is not enough damage, but
That's
it's still
8.
enough to address the board.
Wait, that's he will be at 8 and he can deal 4, 5, 6 and leave. Oh, that's not a bad thing. He can actually get Dice to 2 points of damage. Or just clear as well. Deny the life tap. Like swipe face, then attack the 3/3 with a 2/4. And attack the face for 5 damage. But Kento really wants to clear. Also, the turn that Dice had without anything impressive is a big sign like, hey, I don't have a second Molten Giant, and I actually have a problem. I can't clear here.
Yeah, because the Harvest Golem Death Rattles provide such an annoyance, and I like that Kento opted to lose a little bit of damage, but keep his Keeper of the Grove healthy while his Harvest Golem alive, so that way he doesn't have to sacrifice the Death Rattle effects whatsoever and leave it complicated, because there's going to be 5 damage left over if he goes for a Shadow Form play.
By the way, I think that's actually it. Wait, if he uses Siphon
Souls on the Keeper of the Grove, he's going to go to 8, and his opponent will have 6 damage, so there's still an opportunity to. I think Tyce also realizes that this deck is about pushing out everything, so if he has like 1 card left and he hasn't used it, I think you would suspect something like Innervate.
Siphon Soul is so weird, right? It's you just kill 1 minion, you heal 3, but you still face this board. Going Goose is not gonna make it. But Kento is in such a good position here.
Yep. No life taps.
No more life
Unless
taps.
Tyce is able to pick up a heal of some sort.
Those Harvest Golems, he can't even clear effectively. Normally Leroy Shadow Flame is so good.
He needs a Molten Giant off the top here.
That's it. Iron Beak is not doing it.
No, and I don't think he can set up a wall of taunts, or he can only set up 1 taunter. And it's a Lotheb, so if Lotheb goes for the taunt, it'll be 6 points, and you can just push through with these creatures and hero power him down. No matter how you kind of look at it, it seems like Tyce is in an unwinnable spot here.
Yeah, he's dead on board. Like, he doesn't even have to know what card there is in Kalento's hand. Thinking if there is any combination that can play, just have to make sure.
It's really the Harvest Golem's Death Rattle that's providing such a problem. He can't, like, Owl Shadow Flame. He can't Leroy attack, kill anything in Shadow Flame. He can't set up a wall of taunts. Everything just provides such a nuisance. And Kento just may have been able to squeeze by this game. It looks like Tyce's handlock has been dropped, despite the fact that on paper, the Druid struggles to get past these giant taunters.
Yeah, but again, we talked about it as well. This deck, even if it has 80% win rate against this Druid.
Oh, the last card that Tyce life tapped for was a Molten Giant. He would have been able to Molten Giant, Defender of Argus, and then Faceless Manipulator that turn if he drew it. Tyce is pretty unlucky, man.
Druid continues to win. Oh yeah, this is very unlucky. And right now it will be Druid versus Druid mirror match. But it's not really a mirror match because Dice is playing a control with Wild Growths. And I really wonder if he's going to draw those Wild Growths this time. In this match, in this game.
All right, well, people say that the ramp druid, the slower druid, should be able to beat the faster druid if you can get out ahead of them with taunts, and they just can't keep pushing past it. They don't even have Black Knight in this deck, so Kento has to just use brute minion on minion trading, or else have spells / silence to push through these taunts. Game number 2 is about to begin between Kento and Tice. Off to a good start for the Cloud9 member, and his Druid deck, once again, the secret tech from Cloud9, has been the one dominating recently, as I believe this deck has won 7 or 8 games for Kento this tournament so far.
And Kento actually gets a coin and Harvest Golem Innervate. This is a pretty good start. I wonder if he will get Shade of Naxxramas. That will be funny. Shade of Naxxramas Innervated on turn 1, then Harvest Golem turn 2 with a coin. He didn't get it.
But Tice has Wild Growth, so he has stuff to do, and that is really important. That was the first time that we've seen Tice get an important card like this, so that way he can curve out. If he picks up a 5-drop, then it seems like his turns 3 to 5 will have a very good implication with Senjin, 5-drop, Cairn. But now with Innervate out on the deck and able to kind of put in pressure, you have to be very mindful because you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Even if a Harvest Golem gets 3 or 4 attacks in, you're all of a sudden always afraid of combo.
Yeah, but still, for Tice it looks pretty good. He got that Wild Growth. He has a Senjin for his turn 3. For turn 4 he has another Senjin. And then he has a Cairn that he will be able to play on turn 5. So he will be throwing all those good minions, and he even picks a Swipe.
Yeah, Swipe is surprisingly useful against a lot of the faster druids because of the lower HP, and especially without Violent Teachers and Power of the Wilds anymore, and they just seem to be reliant on Defender of Argus. If you can kind of pick a time where you can pick the Swipe, it's a lot more effective than the normal druid matchup. Because usually in mid-range druid, they have so many 5-health creatures and above, like Ancient of Lore, Yetis, Druid of the Claws, that Swipe is kind of useless.
Kento decides to use Keeper of the Grove and kill the Senjin, which is a good decision. But on the other hand, he won't have many good answers for the other taunts. There is one Senjin in Thai's hand, but in his deck there's a lot of taunts with Druid of the Claws and Ancient of War. And some of those cards might just be a wall for Kento that he won't be able to go through.
This is an opportunity for Tice to leverage something like Swipe and kill off 2 minions.
Yeah,
be afraid of something like Defender of Argus.
I think Swipe is actually cool. You attack into Harvest Golem and then Swipe. Or do you just play a second Senjin? That's also fine. And you still can attack into the Harvest Golem.
Well, most likely you're going to kill off one of the 1/2s rather than set up a way for your opponent to actually get a good swipe on you. You don't want the opposite to happen. But I understand what you're saying. Like, if you go for the swipe here, then Cairn becomes a lot less contested. And that way, it's not as simple as just removing Cairn off the board as soon as he's played. But I think this Senjin effectively weakens the board enough so that way, in case of emergency, he can swipe.
Yeah, this swipe is pretty good for Kento. He was able to clear those Senjins. Even going to attack into that Senjin now.
But it's still inefficient. The swipe by itself didn't kill anything. And that's what swipe normally does in this matchup. It's kind of usually useless. But against a faster Druid deck like this, Tice, his swipe is going to be way more powerful.
But do you really swipe here?
I think Cairn is much better than swipe just because he can't deal with it whatsoever. Oh, unless he draws Keeper of the Grove. But even then, he's still a 4/5 body out there.
Yeah, another question is for Kento, do you play Druid of the Claw as a taunt? Because you can really hit a Black Knight on the other side. But playing it as a charger, it's so weird.
Well, Charger is playing to what you have in hand, right? You have Force of Nature, and you'd be putting him down to 17 health. But you know this is a ramp Druid. He's played Wild Growth. He's played lots of Taunters already, 2 Senjins and Cairn. So you're reading that you're most likely not going to be able to pull off the Force of Nature combo. I don't know, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if you play Taunt, you're playing directly into his hands as well, right? Like these decks run Black Knight. They run opportunities to play the slow game. So I think Kento has to put it in
Also, he
charge
couldn't
here.
play Keeper of the Grove because he has to be afraid of the Ancient of War. And if Ancient of War is being dropped, he will have to silence it.
I can understand the concept of a stick.
I think Frodan, we are losing you again. I can't hear you. So he decides to drop Kern, which is a pretty good card, and Thijs will have to deal with it somehow. And the question is if there is a good way to deal with Kern. Oh, and we lost Frodan, unfortunately. The thing about Druid of the Claw is, again, Thijs might be afraid of the Black Knight. He doesn't have the full list that Kento is playing. So you never know what will happen. And now, is he going to clear Kern? He has to. Well, he is a slow Druid, so he's probably fine with just clearing the board, stabilizing, and he was able to deal a couple of points of damage, which is important. He got another Wild Growth, which is a useless card. Till he reaches turn 10, he will be able to cycle cards. So what are the options that Kento can use in here? Harvest Golem, Wrath, and Shapeshift. Kill the Druid. Both of the players are pretty dry with regards to their hand sizes. So they are in a top deck mode. And right now Thijs has no taunts, which creates a good situation for Kento because he will be able to push with more damage. And there is Engine of War. But Kento was patiently waiting with that Keeper of the Grove to be able to silence it. Uproot is an option as well. The Aggro Druid is not really running BGH, so now Thijs has to decide if he wants to defend or if he wants to play to win. And I think 5/10 is actually better. Because it's still a very formidable minion that Kento will have trouble with. And on the other hand, you stop your opponent from being able to attack and deal more points of damage to you.
All right, I'm back, Nimsh.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, it was weird is that I could still see everything that's going on, but just for some reason I kept getting kicked off the server. But I've seen everything that goes on, and it seems like Kento is now in desperation mode, but Thijs needs to pick up another taunter here in order to stabilize. But it seems like if he can just pick up one or two more big taunts, I think he's out of the woods, and that'll really seal the deal unless Kento has something like Black Knight.
Well, Kento is not running Black Knight, so Kento will really want to deal a couple of more points of damage and then draw into Savage Roar.
This is pretty sick. Like, you just go for the Ragnaros as the clock, you go for the guaranteed board clear, and then there's no way for your opponent to kill you from 16 HP with just 2 cards.
Yeah, even if he top decks Savage Roar, that's it. So Ragnaros is a great card in here. You just clear, deal 8 points of damage, and set up yourself for a win next turn.
Is he afraid of BGH? Wow.
Like, or maybe Faceless? Like, interesting.
Okay. You know, it's the concept that don't play something. Yeah, Faceless is also a possibility. It's don't play something if you can't kill it yourself. Because if the Ragnaros went the opposite direction, he'd actually be in such big trouble. And this still sets up for lethal next turn anyways. All right, Kento needs to draw something here. Picks up Shaded next Rammus.
Might have to clear with Force of Nature.
I think you almost certainly have to. There's too many ways to die just from the 9 or 10 damage at least guaranteed from what's on the board.
Well, it looks pretty bad for Kento, and this is something what happens in this matchup, aggro versus taunt. If aggro is not able to push with damage early and just finish off with combo, the taunt druid and like ramp druid has so much quality in the cards. It's like you get a card, and instead of just getting a meek harvest golem, you get a Ragnaros, you get Ancient of War, Ancient of Lore, Karen, Sylvanas. You have all those big cards. I'm not even sure if he's running Sylvanas, but still, you have so many quality minions that you get when in top deck mode, instead of just like haunted creepers and small guys. But it's on the other hand, this deck really depends on getting those wild growths early. And this time, Thijs was able to get all the cards he needed, and the deck worked as designed. And he gets a win over Kolento's Druid. So right now, the series is tied 1-1, and Kolento will have to pick another deck.
All right, well, that's kind of what we expected to see with this Druid mirror matching up. Well, not really mirror. It was a Druid class mirror, but the decks didn't line up directly. Kento still has several options at his disposal, and he's opting to go for Shaman. It makes sense. Shaman has a lot of good value cards with Hex against the big threats, and you can utilize the board with constant toteming and Defender of Argus to make Druid's lack of AoE very, very vulnerable to them. And also, Handlock's already out of the mix. You've already defeated it. So it's not like you're going to be using Shaman for Handlock. I think it's a strong pick.
Yeah, I also like to mention that players, I said it in the beginning, but players actually brought new decks as well. So from Kolento, we're seeing Paladin, which he wasn't using on day one, and Thijs actually brought a Rogue deck. So those players also have those classes, and this is a best of 7 series. So one of them will have to win 4 games at least. And yeah, Shaman versus Druid, a cool matchup. Both very stable decks, both decks that we knew pre-Next Rammus. So I guess without further ado, we can actually jump to the game and see how it unfolds.
All right, yeah, the best of 7 has now turned into a best of 5. Shaman versus Druid coming up. Kento is going to be bringing his Shaman deck, which is very Death Rattle heavy. And yet, it pains me just throwing one Undertaker there, and then all of a sudden you have another threat that's sort of removal bait. Sometimes it grows to the point where people have to like swipe, you know, the Undertaker in order to remove it, and then all of a sudden it's one less swipe that has to be used on another premium card like Fire Elemental.
Certainly, Undertaker is a pretty cool card, and there's so much Defralo cards that Undertaker almost always gets value in a Shaman deck. But here, he got the Harvest Golem, he got the Feral Spirits and Flametongue Totem, so he will be able to deal a lot of damage early. On the other hand, Thijs didn't get the Wild Growth again.
Yeah, you know, you can't get it every single time, but when you're able to kind of collect a hand like you do right now, I don't think you're necessarily complaining. He also has the coin, so at least that's some way to kind of fix your curve. The most important thing about Wild Growth is to have the additional mana, because oftentimes as a Druid player, your mana curve sometimes gets a little wonky with the 5s and 7s. So it's important that you're able to have the extra mana to play with. And now Kolento's able to kind of utilize his Flametongue Totem and get some really good trades. This is what you need to do early on, so that way you don't have to use Hex unnecessarily.
Well, but on the other hand, Thijs actually has a Silence in form of a Keeper of the Grove, so silence the Totem, get a pretty good 2-4, and then he will have a follow-up on turn 5 with Druid of the Claw. Turn 6 is kind of vague for now, but then turn 7 and turn 8 seems pretty good. And on the Kolento's side, he will be just trying to develop the board. Basically, this matchup is about the board, where Druid versus Druid was more about if he's going to rush me, if I'm going to defend. This one is all about the board position. I need to kill his minions. I need to deny Shaman having any board position, because if Shaman does have a board position, it becomes really dangerous really fast.
Kento took a few seconds here to think about positioning between Haunted Creeper and Harvest Golem. Is there anything that you're specifically looking for, Nimsh, when he's thinking about this positioning?
Well, the thing is, like when you're using hero power, the totems are always being placed on the right. So if you think about placing another possible Flametongue Totem in the middle, it's good to have at least 2 minions on the left and 2 minions on the right. And the positioning thing is that a lot of players actually don't pay attention to this. They just make a hasty minion drop, and it's pretty important in those decks with buffs like Shaman, like Zoo as well. So this is another skill that's really important, and I think that to keep in mind when we are playing in those tournaments on a high level.
Yeah, one thing I like about Haunted Creeper on the far left is that it does spawn 2 bodies as opposed to Harvest Golem's 1. So if you have an opportunity to slide in Defender Vargas and Flame Tongue Totems eventually, you'll have, like, the damage golem will die before the other 2 ones. So that way you have a little bit of easy ability to slide in. But those are just small things that might come into play. It probably will never have impact in this game, but you never know. That's why Kelento's setting himself up for success. Druid the Claw in taunt mode seems to be the most logical. There's nothing worth using Faceless on. And Wrath still feels pretty weak with a board full of Death Rattle minions. So it's going to go back to Kento, where he has a couple of options at his disposal here to kind of go for removal or to kind of develop this Fire Elemental. But he's going to have to sacrifice some of his minions.
Also, he has to play around swipe a bit, because if he plays Fire Elemental and targets the 4/6, then he needs to finish it off with 3 points of damage. And if he uses Harvest Golem and Haunted Creeper, then he is open to swipe. So he decides to use his Feral Spirit. On the other hand, if it's a tricky thing, because if he uses Feral Spirit and he's out of taunts, and swipe is still a very nice card that will be able to kill those spiders and the Fire Elemental, followed up by an attack. Or just maybe a hero power. But there is no swipe in Thai's hand, so Kelento's gamble kind of pays off. On the other hand, Thais will be able to Wrath the Elemental and attack it with a 2/4. But that would be it.
Yeah, this is something that, again, Shaman wants to really push and exploit the weakness of Druid. The lack of potent AoE outside of swipe. And the massive board clears are very difficult, which is why it's important for Kento to get ahead on board. Even if his card quality per card is not as powerful, like in terms of pound for pound, like Ancient of War and Ragnaros and Cairn and Sylvanas and all these other cards. It's the idea that these smaller minions makes it really difficult, so that way you can use Hex and Flame Tongue Totems and other ways, Defender of Argus, that way you can pick apart the trades. And also, you still have Burst. Like, Kento has a lot of damage in his deck with Doom Hammers and Alakirs.
By the way, this was such a painful turn. Like, there was nothing good you could do. Playing a Sludge Belcher was suboptimal. This Faceless into Fire Elemental is not that good as well, because you're open to Hex, and, well, that was really a painful decision that Dice had to make, because you had to do something. Just Wrath and attack maybe was the best, maybe not, it's hard to say, but definitely a painful turn. He will be able to get back to the game on turn 7. He might be happy that one Hex is actually out of the way, but hey, there is another Hex in Kelento's hand, so he might be in a very bad position after this turn. Wait, is it actually lethal here?
He's in dangerous waters just because, again, Shaman can use cheap removal.
And that's then 6, 9, 10, 12, plus 2, 14. Very close to lethal.
He's a little few points off of damage here. Kento also can continue to build the board, and again, just stack the health so that way Druid can't easily remove.
Oh, he can deal 14 points of damage. That's always good. And how Druid will be able to heal and get back. Like, Druid will have to not only heal himself, but also clear the board where you have a Defrauded minion. So again, this Harvest Golem, whatever happens.
Making it so difficult so that way even Force of Nature, Savage Roar can't be a clear. And now Kento has a lot of ways to lethal off the top, even if his board gets wiped. Like things like a second Fire Elemental, Lightning Bolt, any ways to do direct damage. Tice looks like his Shaman or his Druid deck's going to be taken down by the Shaman unless he's able to get something massive off the Wrath, which it doesn't look like it is. Lotheb is what he's drawn.
By the way, in those moments I really hate playing Druid, because you're facing a really formidable board, and what you are able to do is only just play one minion each turn. It's a strong minion, sure, but it's just one card each turn, and Shaman's just spawning the board with all those small guys that are hard to remove. So this is the moment where Druid actually is falling behind.
All right. Well, now Tice will turn to his Miracle Rogue, which just seems like these guys have a big counter field left inside their preparations. Like that's kind of what you do with the 4 decks you bring. They're good against all kinds of classes. You want to have at least 2 answers per class as a general rule of thumb. That way, if the first one dies to like an unexpected bad percentage and a bad draw, you have another way to answer it. Miracle Rogue against Shaman. You have a lot of targets to kind of trigger some of the minions, but you still need to draw those AoE cards like Blade Flurry sometimes because the board gets too strong with Feral Spirits. Interesting inclusion that Tice has chosen to adopt the RDU philosophy of putting Shade of Next Rammus inside of his Miracle Rogue deck. What do you think, Nibs?
Yeah, I think it's a cool card. It's testing new cards and another card that can actually do a lot of damage. And with the conceal, you can kind of hide it again. So basically, in Miracle Rogue, 3-drops are really good if you get them early. And Shade of Naxxramas seems like a card that actually fits the curve and fits the idea of the deck, because you can either use it as a removal card, like trading into minions, or if unanswered, it can be a really good damage dealer. So I would try it in my Miracle Rogue as well. The important fact is also he's not playing Assassin's Blade, which is a pretty good call with a lot of Harrison Jones being played in the control metagame. He is not playing Cold Blood as well, so that shade is in Cold Blood. He's only playing one Font of Knives, might be important versus Shaman, but we discussed this matchup in a lot of detail. It's basically about getting that Auctioneer or not getting that Auctioneer. If he gets an Auctioneer, he might actually win with all the options. But if he doesn't get an Auctioneer, he will certainly lose. The thing is also how bursty the opening of Kento will be if he is able to just rush dice before he even gets to turn 6. So it will be certainly an interesting match to see how those players, what strategies they will use, and what cards they will get in the beginning, and what are the mulligan decisions on their side.
All right, game number 4. Kento is up 2-1, and Tice will have to respond once again. It's been tit for tat so far, but Miracle Rogue, I can't think of a better deck that's left in his arsenal to be able to face off against a Shaman. Let's jump to the board and see the opening hands. Tice is going to be going first. He's willing to throw away Blade Flurry, excuse me. Man, Artosis. He's willing to throw away Blade Flurry in order to kind of get this Gadget's hands or other cards early on.
Gadget's
really interesting keep.
Gadget-san is really a key card in this matchup. You need Gadget-san. He didn't get it, but his decision to like throw everything away, because even if you get Blade Flurry and you don't get a Gadget-san, you will still lose in the long run. Even though you will be able to clear maybe once. Well, Blade Flurry alone isn't good as well. You need the Deadly Poison. So I agree with trying to fish for the Gadget-san. Right now his hand looks pretty bad with only Deadly Poison, but no 3-drops, no Gadgets, and he will be able to draw a couple of cards with Shiv. But if he doesn't get that Gadgets, then he will be in trouble. On the other hand, Kento is having a pretty good start, a lot of damage potential, a lot of early minions that will be able to just stick on the board. So right now I have to give an edge to Kento again with the current cards.
I have to kind of agree. If he picks up Doomhammer, then all of a sudden Tice is going to be in a very bad spot because he can't keep up with the removal. There's lots of Death Rattle, so that way removal is going to be a little bit harder to kind of piece together. Like, you need a Deadly Poison but unfortunately Tice actually attacked with his weapon, so he can't actually squeeze all that in without giving up a charge, or unless he gets backstabbed. But even then, all these things are extra card or 2 in order to remove everything fully. And then this allows Shaman to continue to pressure the board, especially if Kento has ways to draw into more cards with Gnomish Inventor.
By the way, it's hilarious that actually Tice's bad hand is making a trouble for Kento. His play of Nerubian Egg was specifically to be able to remove a 3-drop with this Nerubian Egg and a Roguebiter weapon. But because Tice has a really bad hand and he didn't get any 3-drops, he's now denying Kento a possibility to actually like remove the egg and get a 4 from Nerubian. So because of that play, Kento has a bit slower start.
Yeah, and I would think this is actually a pretty significant error, that Tice didn't account for the possibility of having a Harvest Golem to deal with early on. Because now he's taken 2 damage extra, and the Harvest Golem will still be whacking away before Tice will be able to drop anything, because most likely his next turn wants to include something like Azure Drake, which means This Harvest Golem is most likely going to do 6 damage total at least, and that could be a difference maker with when you have cards like Flame Tongue and Rockbiter and you pair together Doomhammer, that gives Shaman the opportunity to push in for damage. So this could end up betraying Tice, the fact that he attacked that one extra time on turn 2.
Kento's thinking about Numbish Inventor or just extending his board with Flame Tongue Totem and Haunted Creeper. I like the play of a 2/4 Numbish Inventor because he really has a very good curve and he can use that Flame Tongue as a burst card at some point. Against this Azure Drake, that Flame Tongue Totem will be splendid.
Oh, certainly. Although I would have to think that you still want to make your board a little bit resilient. So would you pop the Nerubian? Or would you use your Harvest Golem here? I think you probably use the Harvest Golem body, because then you still have the resistance against AoE, huh?
Yeah, that Nerubian Egg, even though it wasn't removed in the beginning, right now serves as a cool card that will be able to turn into this Nerubian. So I would certainly use the Harvest Golem. But do you really use the Flame Tongue now? Because you can also play. Well, there's other possible plays. So you can play Fire Elemental with the coin. You can play Sludge Belcher. You can play the Flame Tongue. Sludge Belcher and coin something. So.
Ooh. It seems like Kento wants to pop the egg as a priority and make it a little difficult. He is taking spell power off, so it's gonna need Eviscerate at least to take this off. It's not like a spell power with Blade Fury and Deadly Poison can remove everything. And he uses opportunity to develop Haunted Creeper, which is again making it very resistant to AoE, so it's a good compromise here.
Yeah, it's a good decision, but on the other hand, Thais has really a bad hand. No Gadget-san gives him no opportunity to be able to win. And even without Gadget-san, he doesn't have Leroy, he doesn't have any burst potential. So what Thais is doing right now, he's trying to survive. And this is not something that Miracle Rogue should be doing. This is not a valid strategy. Just trying not to lose instead of trying to win. But he just didn't get the cards that are useful here. I mean, he can clear the board kind of with the Blade Flurry. But still, he is in a really weird spot. Just using those cards now and giving a Shaman the opportunity to still deal damage and develop his board.
I think if you kind of target the big source of damage, which is the Flame Tongue Totem, you still have a few turns to kind of do this if you push out your Farseers. But it also is said to say that if he has something like Lightning Storm, then you're back at square one and you're still taking a lot of damage from this Nerubian. So it seems like Tice is going to line up for a Blade Flurry play. But he's using so many of his spells. He only has Preparation and Conceal left, but he still needs to get that Gadget-san.
Yeah, no, Gadget-san is the only option to win. Even if he gets a Leroy, he has no burst potential. He needs that Gadget-san to be able to use Conceal and Preparation and Sap to the good effect. Like right now, if he gets it at this moment, that would be a pretty nice turn. But if he doesn't get it, if he gets a blank, he's in a pretty bad spot.
By the way, guess what? This Harvest Golem is still haunting Tice. It's been attacking him since turn 3 and sneaking in that damage. He should have been able to kill it with that Deadly Poison Shiv a while ago. But I guess it's something to say where maybe he wouldn't be able to go for the Blade Flurry play. So who knows? Regardless, he's taken a lot of damage and he's going to have to heal up a little bit. The Sludge Belcher is an interesting choice because it's less damage, but it's a more stable board. And that way, a Fire Elemental. And you can answer one of the 3 health minions that Miracle Rogue often brings, like Farseer or SI7.
Yeah, the Sludge Belcher was pretty key. And using Sap on that Sludge Belcher is so sad. Like, basically, you want to use Sap to gain tempo, or to be able to push through with your Leroy after you sap something. And here, the Fire Elemental is just going to wreck this board. Tice doesn't even have a way to answer it right now.
Well, he's got an Energy Drake number 2. Just has to pick up a Eviscerate and he can stabilize once again. Ooh.
Sap.
Sapping a Fire Elemental also feels pretty poor.
Well, in this spot for sure. Sometimes you can do it and you get like an extra turn that you are able to use to push with damage. But here, it's not doing much. Can't even weapon up.
Still searching for Gadgetzan, but Tice looks like he's running out of answers. Kento picks up more ways to deal with creatures, and now he can start using removal while putting out threats.
And now Kento knows that this such Belcher will not get sapped. And to deal with it, you have to deal like 7 points of damage being Miracle Rogue. This is a lot. Gets Shade of Naxxramas, which is a nice curve with SA7 and Farseer, but it just opens him up for the Lightning Storm. He's in such bad position here. It's just incredible.
Man, Tice, again, I have to kind of feel a little bad for the guy. It feels like the tournament, whenever he needs certain things, it just hasn't been falling his way. A lot of decks haven't been operating at optimal capacity. Like his Molten Giant's coming a little bit late. Grommash at the very bottom of his deck at the last card. Gadgetzan avoiding him even though he's 16 cards deep. Now 17. Lightning Storm is going to be able to do a lot of damage, potentially even go for a full clear.
Oh, and he doesn't hit at all. It's Kento a bit unlucky with the hit, but still he has such an advantage. Card advantage, board advantage.
Whoa, there we go.
The Gadgetzan, finally the Gadgetzan comes. Wait, maybe this will actually work.
Well, it needs some spells like Fan of Knives, Shiv would also be nice, but I think he already had 2 Shivs. So there's not many ways you can kind of climb back up in the card count. He wants a way to guarantee to draw some cards next turn.
But he needs like Eviscerates or Fan of Knives. But this is pretty risky. I think you don't have to play Preparation here. You just weapon up.
Yeah, Preparation effectively does the same thing this turn as next turn. It's just that you get a card now as opposed to later.
Oh my god.
Shadow Step. I mean, your preparation if for the hope that you can get some way to remove. But Tice loses that preparation, and now
I feel like Tice
is
actually
board.
I feel like Tice is actually out. Wait, is it lethal? This is 12, 13, not yet. Wait, 13?
So he's got
16.
Lightning Bolt, so that's 16 damage.
So not yet, but still, Tice is like out of cards. He used Double Sap, he used Blade Flurry, 1 Deadly Poison, he used Farseers, he used SA7. It seems like he used all the cards that are mid-game that can do something. Right now, I feel like in his deck there is only second Shadow Step and Leroy. Obviously, he has like Fan of Knives and some other cards, but those are not the cards that can really turn around the situation.
Tice can't even really utilize... Oh, man. He doesn't even pick up another spell. Gadgetzan has arrived, but Tice's deck has been pretty useless. He has to use Shadow Step on the Leroy... Or, sorry, not the Leroy. On the Van Cleef, and now he picks up Leroy. No spells.
Gadgetzan is actually useless. This is even more sad than it was before. He finally got a Gadgetzan, and now he can't even use it to draw cards.
All right, game 4 will go to Kento, and he jumps out to a very important 3-1 lead at a decisive point of the series. Tice will have to rely on his Warrior deck against Shaman, and, you know, that's going to be a little bit tough because we haven't seen Warriors do very well against Shaman this entire tournament so far, but who knows? Maybe he's able to kind of get some value off his late-game legendaries. It's going to be tricky, though, because, again, Shaman's able to build the board so effectively, and Kalento's been playing it pretty masterfully. I don't feel like I've seen any noticeable mistakes on his end.
And rightfully so. Shaman has a good matchup versus Warrior. Even though Warrior has that Brawl, you don't always draw it. And even if you Brawl, Shaman is playing around it. So after the Brawl, he's still playing the second Feral Spirit, and he still has good cards. Shaman has a nice draw. Has a lot of sticky minions that are hard to deal with. Haunted Creepers and Ribbon Eggs. So I will definitely give an edge to Kento, but we've seen Tice playing his Warrior really well. He knows the deck, he knows how to play it, he knows this matchup. I'm sure he's not really happy having his Warrior as his last deck and his last stand, because if he loses here, he is eliminated from this tournament, and he's short of getting to the final, and final will give him an invite to the 3rd edition. So here, this is his stand. He needs to make his stand in here. He needs to win 3 games with this Warrior. Is he able to do it? We'll see after we jump to the game.
All right, let's begin and find out. Tice can go 3-0 with his Warrior deck. He needs to, or else this is it for him to stop is here, and Kento advances to the finals.
Well, Tice gets a coin and gets a brawl, which is kind of cool. Acolyte of Pain is also good. He will be able to draw a couple of cards, unless Kento actually gets Earthshock. Armorsmith, a pretty nice draw. Oh my god, his hand is actually pretty nice. Armorsmith, Acolyte, Senjin, good curve, and a Sludge Belcher, sick curve.
Yeah, seems like it's going to work out nicely, but Shaman can pick apart that curve very effectively, and I mean they have such powerful spells that do give overload and need minions even. That's partially why you know, the mechanics work that way, so you can squeeze in other cards that turn and then pay for it later. The curve for Kento is starting to work out too.
Yeah, that Numbish Inventor is actually doing a lot of work. It's the second game when he gets it, he will be able to play it on turn 4. I mean, it's not certain he will play it on turn 4 right now, because Flametongue Totem can get a lot of value. Drawing, well, he won't be able to kill the Acolyte, but still Flametongue might be an option.
Yeah, this Fire War Axe is very important to get value. You know, a lot of times you want to make sure that things like Spirit Wolves can't get value. So that's why Fire War Axe can go 1 for 1, and that way you're just giving up a little bit of health, which is no problem for the warrior. But in this case, I think you're more than happy if you have an Armorsmith to kill off the Harvest Golem. You're in a good spot.
Yeah, that also actually prevented the Flametongue Totem, because there was no good target for the Flametongue, and just playing it to not do anything and just lose it to the Fireworks is not a good play. So Numbish Inventor was a pretty nice card, and he picks up Sludge Belcher, which will be a perfect card for turn 5. On the other side, Tyson L. Well, how do you deal with this? Just a yellow drop Senjin?
Senjin, let's see, what are you vulnerable to a Senjin? You still can just get blown out by a Flametongue Totem very easily. But then you're using the coin for something that's marginally better. It's still a 3/5 body, so I think Senjin is better here, because that way you're not wasting the coin of Sludge Belcher, which has the same exact stats anyways.
Yeah, you can also just kill the 2/4 with your Armorsmith and a weapon. Oh, he's actually going for a Spider. That's also fine. Losing Armorsmith wouldn't be that good.
I think you're okay with a Flametongue play too, just because he has to trade the rest of his board, and he'd most likely totem, and that gives you an opportunity to place the strongest minion, and then Flametongue has to come behind the minion, not before it. So any minion he places afterwards, you can use a Shield Slam to address it, and then have the opportunity to... Ooh, double Flametongue.
Yeah, just to clear the board. It looks
Nice.
pretty nice.
I was just thinking he was going to totem up, but it makes total sense. Don't give up your board unnecessarily, and also the Flametongues can fight back.
Well, he just killed Senjin, which is a 4-mana 3/5 with a 1/1 token, which is not even a full card. I'd say it's pretty nice. And also, in this situation, what is Warrior going to do? He has an empty board, a 1/1, so you're fine with the 1/1. Do you force a brawl from a Warrior? That would be super awkward if we see the brawl now. The other way to clear this board, no, Death Spite, is it actually clearing the board? It does not. So Kento knows what Warrior's playing. So what are the ways to actually clear here?
Well, it doesn't seem like you clear. He is investing 2 cards to kill, like, to fill up the board. So if you can kill these cards and make it really effective, like the Sludge Belcher ends up picking apart 1 or 2 of these cards, and you start having an advantage. And Shaman needs to fight 1 for 2 instead of the other way around. Their draw mechanics are pretty limited outside of cantrips.
A pretty good call with Lothab. Yeah, that's a pretty nice call, because if you will play Sludge Belcher and if there is a Hex, Kento will sneak in another 6 points of damage, or maybe even more. And right now, Kento will be forced. He won't be able to play Hex, so he will have to play something else. If there is a Fire Elemental, sure, there is a Sludge Belcher, so for Kento is actually a pretty good play. But first, obviously, he has to attack the minions.
Yep, attack before you place the minions between the Flametongues, so that way. Oh, Kento missed a little bit of damage here by accident.
Yeah, he should have attacked with the totem.
But the idea was, Tice pointing out his mistake, trying to get inside of Kento's head. You know, the little bit of damage might matter, but often it's more about the board control for Shaman than it is about rushing a warrior down because they have lots of ways to gain armor and remove.
I'm
But
sure
then again,
Colento.
you have to be careful about that.
I'm sure Colento is just playing around Molten Giants, as we've seen many times
That's right.
yesterday.
Don't want to give him any form of ability to swing the board like that. I like it.
So there is a death spite pickup from Thijs. What does it even mean? There's 7-5 slash
Brawl.
Vulture.
Brawl
You know
is being hovered over, and Tyson's going to initiate. This could be a very big moment if he goes for a pseudo board clear. Oh, so close.
Actually survived. The worst possible outcome.
Wow.
And right now Colento can just continue building the board, and you see this is exactly what we talked about. The Brawl is a great card, but still, after the Brawl you are staring at 3 minions.
And now it's a Brawl that's been used, and Kento has the ease of mind that he can continue to build forward. Like, if he has Feral Spirits, that much more likely to play it because he doesn't have to worry about a Brawl coming to the mix.
He has so many options. He has a Nerf Shock for a possible such Vulture. He has a Hex for whatever. A la Kier if there is no taunt.
Man, Tice, again, I just feel so bad. He can't. His RNG this tournament has been pretty poor, to say the least. And now it looks like Kento might be able to even burst him down soon. He's got Alec here in hand. If he picks up Rockbiter, I feel like that's going to be it. And Kento has the perfect response to deny draws from Tice, what he can do in the future.
Even without Rockbiter it's the end next turn. Like, Tice will have to clear this board. Alakir is possibly 6 points of damage. And is Tice actually able to deal with this board? Black Knight is a pretty cool card.
Yeah, Black Knight is an important draw here to kill off the 4/6. You have the Death Spite. You even have Execute. It's gonna be messy, but you at this point you're in critical health. You're aware that you can die to Doomhammer / Rockbiter Burst.
It's actually painful, but I think... Okay, like Colento will be 1 damage of lethal with this. Unless... Okay, he armor up. That's 11, that's 6, 8, 10. Yeah, 1 damage of lethal. He needs to pick up something like Rockbiter.
Hmm?
He needs a Rockbiter. Unless, actually, wait, is he going to execute? Kill? Okay, cool. Then Colento is actually missing more. He's 3 damage of lethal.
I think Tice did this in the wrong order. He needed to... Well, I guess he Black Knighted first instead of doing a little bit of damage to his minions. So that way he keeps the 5 health from the Black Knight. I was trying to think about the sequencing because Kento is now also reverse BMing back Tice and saying, well, it looks like you didn't do an optimal play either. But I think Tice just picked the least worst option here, considering that he's at a stage where he needs every single hit point possible, and Kento is pressing for the win.
Yeah, I'm definitely fine with the sequence that Tice applied. He was able to armor up and use Shield Slam. He was able to keep his own execute, which was pretty cool. But right now he is facing a really terrible situation.
Yep, Acolyte of Pain is probably one of the worst draws Tice could possibly get because it doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a way to draw at the moment. He just uses Death Bite activator. And this should be it.
One more. I mean, Kento is 1 of lethal still.
Oh, you're right. I was thinking if he gets Lightning Storm, and is there a way for him to kind of press through, but he can't fit that with Alec here.
Can he win with Lightning Storm and Defender of Argus? That's the question.
Hey.
If he gets 3 damage on, well, yeah, now he has lethal, right or not? Wait,
the 1/2 in the back. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, you're right. It does because you have the Defender of Argus you can play. This should be lethal.
Yeah, this is lethal for sure. You hit 3 at the you play Defender of Argus so that you buff the 1/2 into a 2/3, and that's exactly. Yeah.
And Kento will be advancing to the Grand Finals 4-1 over Tice with his Shaman deck. It wasn't necessarily the Druid that needed to be it. Oh, just kidding. We miscounted.
Oh my god. Still,
Wow,
okay.
damn, you totally had me fooled there. I was like, oh, I totally trusted here. No worries, man.
I was doing the math 3 times. It
Yeah.
was so weird.
Okay, well, the whole point is I don't think Tice can come back from this spot. Even Alex Straza seems like he wouldn't be able to bounce him back from this position. Oh, well. Math fail.
Yeah, it's tough. But it's only because he actually did have a low roll on the Lightning Storm. Because he got 3
That's
instead of
right.
4.
If he got a high roll, he could have used the 1 attack. And then he would have been able to use the 2 attack minion to actually push in through, giving him the exact lethal. It's a good
Math is
observation.
hard.
All right, well,
this is it.
Tice will have to wait another day for his tournament win, and Kento will advance to his second finals of a big premier tournament. Well played.
Yeah, this is exceptionally well played, and it's also interesting that Kento was playing mostly aggro decks. I wouldn't say that this Shaman is a control. It's more like a mid-range aggro-ish version of the deck. So aggro Druid, aggro mid-range Shaman were able to get Kento a win, and Kento advances with to the final. You can see he's happy, the camera. And what a series, Rodan! What a series! Again, 4-1. So Kento is establishing his dominance.
Can anyone stop this guy? He's 13-3 the entire tournament so far.
This is a 6 score.
Yeah, it's absolutely dominant. He's by far the most uncontested player in the entire tournament. The entire Group A was 3-2 practically every series, and the final score of the group was so close that if you just change one game from one win to one loss for a couple players, then the entire top 2 of the group would change. And now all of a sudden, Kento is the guy who's standing head and shoulders above everyone else with his record. Who knows? Maybe it's because Ty seems to be the unluckiest player in the tournament, or seemingly the world at the moment, or maybe it's because Kento is onto something that we're not. Either way, a fantastic series for Kento, and he advances to the finals, guaranteeing him an invite to the next tournament, as well as some good chunk of change.
I would certainly agree and say that Tice is the unluckiest player this tournament, but still, he was able to get to top 4. He played really well. And so I'm sure like everybody watching this tournament would say like, hey, Tyson L is actually a splendid player. He was really unlucky. And a lot of players are crying that RNG is there in Hearthstone and they are losing because of an RNG. Tice had a really bad RNG all tournament, but still he was able to push through. He had a good strategy. He did his best, and he was eliminated really short of final. And a semi-finalist, a splendid player, and I'm really hyped to watch Tice in future tournaments.
Yeah, how do you get top 4 despite the fact that several moments immediately stick out in memory of how bad this guy, about how bad the luck was his run for this tournament? I don't know, a great run to him, and he should be absolutely proud, but keep his head high for the next one. In the meantime, our second semifinals, Hype vs. Trump, will be coming up after the break. But before we do, we want to remind you guys about the opportunity to win the Zeus Mini Cyberpower PC. Just check out the link or go to the bottom of the Twitch page and find out more information about VGVN. They are an organization that tries to fight against the harmful portrayal of video games in the media. They do all kinds of cool promotions about the educational, scientific, and artistic benefits of gaming. Joining is free, and it takes less than a minute of your time, and you enter the raffle to win this cool PC, which will be given away at the end of the tournament series. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the second semifinal of VGVN number 2. Stay tuned.